Hi guys, and thank you so much for joining me. If you are new here, I'm Kat and I like to talk about true crime, conspiracies and all sorts of related things. In today's video I want to talk to you about the case of Charlise Mutten. But before we get started, just a quick disclaimer. All the information I'm giving you in today's video is already found in the public domain. I also don't mean any disrespect to anyone I talk about in the video. This is for educational purposes only. Thank you so much. Charlise Mutten lived with her maternal grandmother at Tweed Heads, Coolangatta in Queensland, Australia, since she was 5 years old. Her parents split up soon after she was born and she didn't have ongoing contact with her father, Scott Hensby. Charlise Mutten's grandmother is Deborah Mutten. Charlise found herself a home in her grandmother's house after her mother, Kallista Mutten, was jailed in 2017. Deborah is a local artist who dotes on her granddaughter, and it's reported she had full custody of Charlise. Charlise was a student at Tweed Heads Public School. She was a bubbly, happy child who would brighten up everyone's day around her. After a series of violent relationships, Kallista Mutten believed that she found true love. She proudly told a friend that she was engaged, happy, and loving life in the Blue Mountains. Her fiancé, Stein, the privately educated son of two prominent Sydney antique dealers, was the man of her dreams. Kallista believed her fiancé was amazing and treated her so well. He was loyal and his heart was with her. The couple met while Kallista was in prison, where she served a 3-year sentence for causing a car crash that killed her passenger while she was high on ice in 2017. She was behind the wheel of the red Holden Apollo sedan when she tried to recklessly overtake a semi-trailer on the Tweed Valley Way at Condong at about 2 p.m. on September 23rd. Completely out of control, the car swerved in front of the semi-trailer in a full 180-degree arc, crossing back to the northbound lane and disappearing off camera in the direction of the river. Kallista's passenger and friend, 53-year-old Karen Bunch, never regained consciousness after the crash and died after 3 weeks on life support in Tweed Hospital. Despite checking into a strict residential rehabilitation clinic after the crash and completing a 7-month program, Kallista relapsed into ICUs, but has since cleaned up again. She was also expelled from the Logan Clinic for 3 weeks in October after threatening a fellow resident with violence. She was sentenced to 3 years and 4 months with a non-parole period of 2 years and 3 months. She was released into supervised parole on September 22, 2019, taking into account some of the time she served while in rehabilitation. Justin and Kallista had written letters to one another for the 2 remaining years of her prison sentence, and they were engaged soon after her release. They were contemplating a move to far north Queensland to find work and continue their new life together. Kallista recently got her driver's license back after a long suspension following her conviction for dangerous driving causing death. Stein came from a wealthy family who owned the lavish Wildenstein wedding venue in the Blue Mountains, 2 hours from Sydney, where celebrities such as AFL star Buddy Franklin and former Miss Universe Australia Jacinta Campbell tied a knot in mid-2017. He was among Sydney's elite in the early part of his life after attending the all-boys school Cranbrook in the affluent Sydney suburb of Bellevue Hill. Tuition fees at the highly regarded school start from $26,000 for kindergarten children to $73,536 for boarding school students. In 1989, after moving from Perth, just weeks after their arrival in Sydney, James Stein Sr. took his wife, Annemie Stein, and then young son James up to Mount Wilson, and they fell in love with the location, the mountains, the greenery, the volcanic soil, and so they bought the property. Justin Stein would not be born until the following year. When they bought the property, he had only a small shack on it. James Stein Sr. designed and built the garden, and Annemie Stein designed the now exquisite home. James Stein Sr. spent weekends planting and working the giant canvas on which to build his dreams. He and Annemie Stein operated a successful business, Mutten and Stein Antiques, in the Queen Victoria building in Sydney. The couple bought a house in Woollahra in Sydney's eastern suburbs, and their sons attended the exclusive boys' school, Cranbrook. In 2009, when Justin Stein was 10 years old, his parents' antique business was mentioned during a high-profile court case involving Heather Kathleen Power. Heather was Mutten and Stein's Antiques' best customer, in a business specializing in antique jewelry and decorative arts, with pieces sourced internationally from the UK, the USA and Europe. She drove a BMW, leased a harbour apartment, drank vintage champagne, hired stretch limousines, accumulated Australia's largest collection of diamond jewelry, had a collection of Cartier handbags, wore Thierry Mugler perfume and dined at expensive restaurants. But Heather Power was leading a secret double life, moving in high society and amassing a huge collection of fine art, jewelry and antiques. It was her employers, the National Australia Bank, who unknowingly financed her lavish lifestyle. She defrauded them of nearly £3.5 million over 3 years period, setting up an intricate web of computer-generated loans. The fraud came to light only when the bank realized that correspondence about several loans was all going to the same address. Her husband apparently had no idea that she was living a fantasy life. Up in Mount Wilson, the Steins were having problems of their own. Wildenstein would become the subject of a property case after James Stein Sr. and Annemie Stein divorced, Annemie taking possession of the estate and Mr. Stein opening an antiques business in Victoria with New York artist Bernardo Diaz. Mr. Stein Sr. and Mrs. Stein have been separated for more than a decade, and it's believed their eldest son, James Jr., has not seen Justin for 5 years. The next door neighbor to Wildenstein is orchardist John Haitzler and his wife Carol, who live at Jamin, which shares a fence with Wildenstein, and they would become essential later on during this investigation. Wildenstein, the lavish venue with park-like gardens decorated with urns, bronze and stone sculptures by antiques dealer James Stein Sr., was run by his interior designer and event planner son, James Stein Jr., Justin's brother. James turned Wildenstein into a successful wedding venue after his own marriage there to husband, radio announcer Keegan Booza, in 2015. Celebrities and others who saw the couple's wedding pictures started asking if they hired the property out for events, and Wildenstein's grand and intimate spaces, hedged garden rooms, incredible views and majestic trees became the backdrop of a thriving business. The couple described their business as a company built on the love of two men. It's a lot of information here, but I sort of just wanted to set the scene a bit. It's reported that Justin still lived in the same shack on the property which the land came with when the Steins purchased it in 1989. Justin Stein also has a criminal past from about the same time as when Kallista was convicted. He was sentenced to 6.5 years in prison for carrying a marketable quantity of a border-enforced drug in 2017. He was released on parole after serving a mandatory 3 years and 9 months in November 2020, and by December 1st, 2020, he was engaged to Kallista. It's unclear if they knew each other before Justin's release from jail just 3 weeks earlier. Justin's mom, Annemie, didn't really agree with the relationship between Kallista and Justin. Justin, a former steel and timber worker, is understood to split his time between an apartment owned by his mother in Leichhardt and the Mount Wilson venue. He has a registered business, Magic's Steel and Timber, and refers to himself as Magic's Man or Magic Man online. Meanwhile, Kallista goes by K-Star on social media and has ambitions of one day working with women who are victims of DV. Her goal, she said, is to help change and work in the community. She previously confessed she turned to ICE to help her cope with the struggles of life, but said that she was remorseful for making bad choices that led to the death of her friend. So now that we've set the scene a little bit, let's just get into what happened. In messages from December the 5th, 2021, Kallista seemed really excited to see her 9-year-old daughter Charlize, who would come to visit just before Christmas to spend her school holidays at Wildenstein, her fiance's family's property in remote Mount Wilson. Charlize was due to arrive on the 21st of December and Kallista was actually looking forward to it. So Charlize is now on holiday in the Blue Mountains area, spending time with her mother, Kallista Mutten, and her fiancé, Stein. Police were told Charlize was last seen on the afternoon of Thursday, January 13, 2022 on the veranda of the Mount Wilson property. She was, however, not reported missing until 8:20 a.m. Friday, January 14th by her mother, Kallista. A large-scale coordinated search operation began in the Blue Mountains area, consisting of over 100 police and emergency staff, such as dog units, police helicopters, and the SES searching dense bushland for Charlize. A small group of emergency service workers, whose numbers have been depleted by a virus outbreak among volunteers, were warned on day 5 of the search that Charlize would be by then lethargic and stationary. It was day 5 in the end and she wouldn't be mobile by this point. Charlize would need water from a bottle, paddle or dam to survive in the wilderness. While Charlize was initially said to be wearing a pink top, black knee-length skirt and pink Nike sandals when she was last seen, neither Kallista or Justin were able to definitively say how she was dressed. New South Wales RFS Commander Peter Bennett told Daily Mail Australia parts of the search area were inhospitable, made significantly worse by wet weather, which hampered investigators. New South Wales police also used geo-targeting messaging, asking locals if they had seen the young girl or any suspicious activity nearby. The frantic search for Charlise Mutten ended Tuesday, January 18th, with the grim discovery of her lifeless body at the base of a barrel dumped in Australia's Blue Mountain bushland near Sydney. A day later, Stein was arrested for her murder. According to documents released at Stein's arraignment, Charlize was likely killed sometime between 7 p.m. on January 11th and 10 a.m. on January 12th, even though her disappearance was not reported until 2 days later. Kallista called police at 8:20 a.m. on January 14 to report her daughter missing. Justin is alleged to have killed Charlize and then tried to dispose of her body in a plastic barrel he filled with 5 20-kilogram bags of sand he bought after she died. Police have also released CCTV footage of a red Holden Colorado Ute, which is a utility vehicle. I actually had to Google that up, silly me, which was seen driving around and towing a boat in the inner Sydney suburb of Drummoyne, followed by the northern areas of Wiseman's Ferry and Colo River. In the back of the red ute was a blue tarp covering a barrel-shaped object in its tray. The security footage showing this had proven crucial in the investigation. You can see on the CCTV footage there's a tarp on the back of the ute. Then, at some stage after leaving the Colo River, that item wasn't on the ute when it stopped at another service station on Bell's Line Road at Carmond. Colo River is where the barrel was eventually located. Justin drove around Sydney for 5 hours with the girl's body in the back of his boat, covered only with a blue tarpaulin, while he made his plans to dispose of her. He then bought fuel for his boat and placed the child in the barrel with the sand with the intention of dumping it in a nearby river. When his boat wouldn't start, he abandoned the plan and dumped the barrel in a nearby woodland. Stein was behind the wheel when the red ute visited the BP service station at Marsden Park in northwestern Sydney at 5:53 p.m. on Thursday, January 13, the day before Charlize was reported missing. He was then captured driving along Victoria Road at 7:19 p.m. and Bayswater Road at Drummoyne around 7:30 p.m. when he allegedly drove it to 5 Dock boat ramp. It then traveled to 5 Dock boat ramp at Drummond between 7:20 p.m. and 9:50 p.m. The following morning, on January 14, the vehicle is believed to have been at the Windsor boat ramp between 1:30 a.m. and 1:40 a.m. and then at the Colo River in the Colo River jetty under the Putty Road Bridge between 2:25 a.m. and 2:30 a.m. It was then at Lower Colo Road between 2:37 a.m. and 2:46 a.m. You remember the neighbors that I mentioned at a bit earlier in the video, the orchardist John Haisler who lives next to the Steins? Well, he told Daily Mail Australia his wife Carol was reading at 4:30 a.m. on Friday when she heard the sound of a car on the driveway. She got out of bed and went to the window and saw a shadow moving. It is very quiet at night and you can see the headlights, but there weren't any headlights on. His wife couldn't see what make of car it was or who was driving it, but he reported it to police after he heard that a little girl had gone missing from next door. The orchardist said the Stein family were known to leave their property in the middle of the night, but the headlights were always on. He also said Justin lived in a shack on the grounds of Wildenstein and had been there with a different girlfriend when he got in trouble more than 5 years ago with drug dealing on the property. According to an exclusive report by the Daily Telegraph, Kallista Mutten is believed to have been staying at the Riviera ski park at Lower Portland on the banks of the Hawkesbury River, 80 kilometers away from Wildenstein, the luxury wedding venue where Charlize was allegedly killed. Residents in the caravan park remembered seeing Charlize alongside Kallista and Justin, with one person even recalling that Charlize was playing around with the daughter of a friend of hers. The park has around 63 cabins, caravans and shacks on 10 hectares with almost half a kilometer of river frontage. It's about 20 kilometers east of where police found Charlise Mutten's body inside a barrel dumped in bushland on a bank of the Colo River. The elderly couple who owned the park were visibly upset by the police search of the caravan and the cabin. It's understood that Charlize and Kallista had been spending time both at the caravan park and Wildenstein. Police have ripped apart the rundown caravan where Charlize's mother was staying before her daughter was allegedly murdered. Detectives and forensic officers swarmed over every inch of the white 1970s van and a nearby cabin in the grounds of the Riviera Ski Gardens at Lower Portland. They spent hours meticulously searching the two locations and took away multiple bags of potential evidence for forensic analysis. Residents at the secluded location recall seeing a chatty Charlize on a ferry to the campsite alongside her alleged killer Justin Stein just days before she died. Witnesses said he was behaving oddly during the trip, silently staring straight ahead. Forensic officers inspected the various points of entry at the caravan and cabin, searching windows, screens and crevices and removing many bags of evidence. However, Kallista was left alone in the caravan park while Charlize and Justin returned to Blue Mountains 80 kilometers away. Honestly, there are more questions than answers here. Why would Kallista let Charlize go back with her fiancé to the property, and why did she choose to remain alone at the caravan park when Charlize came to spend the holidays with her mom? It just doesn't make any sense in my eyes. And at which point did they leave, and why? Why did Charlize leave with her stepdad? It's not even clear at which point Kallista returned to the property. We know she reported Charlize missing on the 14th of January, but police suspect Charlize was killed somewhere between the 11th and 12th of January. So this would mean that Charlize was alone with Justin on the 11th for 3 days before Kallista reported her missing. I mean, where was Kallista? Why was the decision made for Charlize to return with Justin back to the property without her mom? This strikes really odd to me. Justin even had phone conversations with Kallista in the lead up to the body being discovered. There were a number of conversations to purchase a number of sandbags, 20-kilogram sandbags from a hardware store, to fuel a boat and then try and float the boat on the water at one of the docks in inner Sydney. This is another thing which strikes me really odd. If Justin was trying to hide his crime from police and everyone else, then why would he mention this to Kallista? Wouldn't she find this odd? Does it not seem odd to you? I'm also very curious to know the reason Justin gave Kallista for buying the sandbags. But then Kallista reportedly, allegedly believed her fiance's account of what happened to her daughter before calling the police a day later. She gave a statement to police saying her fiance, Justin Stein, provided an explanation as to why Charlize was not with him on January 13, the day he allegedly dumped her body, which she initially believed. He gave a story about where Charlize was and she believed him. Then later on, she grew concerned and reported Charlize missing. 31-year-old Justin Stein has been charged with the murder of Charlize. Police arrested him at the Surrey Hills unit in Sydney in mid-January. Jason Tucker, 45 years old, Justin's close friend, said he couch surfed in his Surrey Hills apartment in a housing department complex of around 20 flats. Justin didn't seem stressed, he just wanted to spend a few days there. He just ate and slept and seemed quite relaxed and unconcerned. Jason doesn't believe Justin killed Charlize. He sees him as a quiet man, never getting into trouble, and during his stay with him, everything was uneventful until police arrived and stormed through the front door. As he was being handcuffed, Justin asked him to call his mother Enemy and get a lawyer. Jason pointed out a few things that he believes shows Justin is not a killer. The red ute was captured on CCTV with a barrel-shaped object under a blue tarpaulin and towing a boat, and police have alleged that Justin Stein tried twice to launch the vessel at different boat ramps but had failed to do so. But Justin has a boat license and he knows how to operate a boat. Jason believes that it was someone else driving that ute. He also said that Justin was the sort of person who was never in a hurry and was definitely not responsible for Charlize's death. Mr. Tucker suggested he would fight for him in the belief that police have the wrong person in relation to Charlize's alleged killer. They needed to find out who was really driving that car. No way he's capable of killing a 9-year-old girl. No way, he said. Jason agreed that Justin had a drug addiction to heroin, but that had nothing to do with killing someone. Mr. Tucker met Charlize's mother, Kallista Mutten, 3 or 4 times, and he described her as a little crazy out there. He had first met her in August last year when she came down to Sydney with Justin in the ute when he drove down from Mount Wilson for a visit. He described Justin Stein, who he believes he met in King's Cross maybe closer to 10 years ago, as a lover and not a fighter. I've never seen him get violent. He hardly even swears, let alone kill a girl. Kallista spent 4 weeks last November in the exclusive rehabilitation and psychiatric facility, the Sydney Clinic. Another patient remembers her speaking continually of her wealthy fiancé and boasting of her having sex with him in the back of his ute after he visited her at the $20,000 a month clinic. Jason Tucker believed Kallista suffered from mental health problems and he personally observed her losing her composure. She's diagnosed with mental health problems. Different things trigger different things in people. Other people react. You just don't know. Detectives hope Kallista can shed light on why her daughter was alone in Justin's care the night she was allegedly murdered. However, they have been unable to interview her due to her mental state, and she remains in hospital under close medical supervision. Kallista, who is pregnant with Justin's baby, suffered a medical episode about the time she contacted police on January 14th to say her daughter was missing. She has been in the Blue Mountains Hospital at Katoomba since, and detectives are yet to formally interview her. Detective Superintendent Doherty added, investigations so far suggest the alleged murder happened at Mount Wilson, where Charlize was last seen, with her body discovered about a week later. The barrel in which her body was found also came from the property. Justin Stein appeared via video link in Sydney's Central Local Court, where his lawyer asked Magistrate Robert Williams for an order to protect his personal safety. His lawyer said his client was under long-term care for mental health problems and had been prescribed a fairly high dose of antipsychotic drugs, quetiapine and risperidone, for many years. The magistrate said he would order Justice Health to assess his mental health needs, but his prison status was up to Corrective Service New South Wales. On Tuesday, January 18th, police found a barrel in the bush near the Colo River. Inside the barrel were human remains later identified as Charlize. Police believe Justin acted alone in the alleged murder. Detectives relying on GPS data and CCTV to find the barrel. Charlize's biological father took to social media to share his devastation about the loss of his daughter. "We will get the answers for you, baby, and we will honor you properly. This is not the end of you or your story, Charlize." The Tweed Heads Public School, where Charlize attended, issued a statement saying, "We are absolutely devastated to hear this news about Charlize. Our hearts go out to her family. We cannot begin to imagine the distress they must feel. Charlize was a much-loved member of our school who brightened all our days, every day." Detective Homicide Squad Commander, Detective Superintendent Danny Doherty, said it's believed Charlize's stepdad, Justin Stein, was alone with Charlize at the Wildenstein property on the evening of Tuesday, January 11th, and took her life. Police believe the barrel Charlize was found in had been taken from Wildenstein, suggesting the alleged murder happened on the property. On 25th of January, police revealed Charlize was shot dead before her body was dumped in a barrel. A post-mortem revealed the girl suffered a gunshot wound. As far as the police knows, Justin Stein was not a registered gun owner. It's believed a small caliber firearm was used in the alleged murder. Police divers and the dog squad were searching for a firearm at the Mount Wilson property, but there's no more information if one was found or not. Justin Stein was charged with Charlize's alleged murder. He has asked to be kept away from other prisoners while in custody over the alleged killing. He appeared in Central Local Court in January, where he did not apply for bail and he was formally refused. His barrister asked the court to recommend a no association classification. Magistrate Williams said corrective services only had the power to separate the accused from other prisoners. Stein's lawyer also asked the court for a 12-week adjournment to seek a mental health assessment, noting his long-term medication. He has been remanded in custody and appeared in Penrith Local Court on March 18, 2022. However, a bombshell twist in this. A bombshell claim about another person possibly involved in the murder of Charlise Mutten has been made. Defense solicitor Peter Kassoulis, who made the claim after appearing for Justin Stein on Friday 18th of March at Penrith Court, also told Nine News he was yet to read a 4,000-page police brief on the case and hadn't received a post-mortem report on Charlize's death. He said there is no clear motive for his client or anyone else to have allegedly killed Charlize, and that he had a long way to go to analyze all of those movements in relation to CCTV released by police, which allegedly showed Justin Stein driving around with a barrel in the back of his red ute soon after the girl's death. Justin Stein was briefly mentioned in Penrith Local Court on Friday morning, where he was remanded in custody until May over the murder charge and the separate charge of breaching parole. Mr. Kassoulis told the court the alleged parole breach related to a drug charge from 2016. Justin Stein is believed to have been held in Silverwater prison since his arrest in January. Magistrate David O'Neill set the next hearing for the murder charge on May 20th. Charlise Mutten's biological father opened a GoFundMe official fundraiser for Charlize, but he had to cancel the $100,000 fundraiser for a memorial and monument to his daughter after being slammed online. Scott Hensby was blasted for not having the permission of Charlize's maternal relatives, the Muttens, to launch the fund. By 13th of January, the fund had raised only $3,120 and it was shut down because of criticism from Facebook users who claimed to have knowledge of the wishes of the family of Charlize's mother, Kallista Mutten. Another Facebook user said the problem was Mr. Hensby had changed the fund's target totals, first asking for $100,000, then a few hours later he changed it to $75,000, then on Sunday to $50,000. Mr. Hensby's original proposal to celebrate the life of Charlize, who was murdered in January and her remains then put in a barrel, was for a beautiful public service. He proposed a large public monument containing her ashes be built and said that part of the money would be used for excellent legal representation in a wrongful death suit coming in the future. He said the support given within Australia and from around the world has been massive, and rightly so. This is a vile tragedy which has been followed by millions of people, all hoping Charlize would be found alive and well, only to be crushed by the news of her body being discovered. But the family of Charlise Mutten is battling yet another tragedy. Weeks after the death of Charlize sent shockwaves around the country. Charlize's one-year-old cousin, Ryder Mutten, was last month diagnosed with cancer and will need immediate treatment. Ryder had been diagnosed with neuroblastoma and has spent the last month receiving treatment in Western Australia. Specialists found tumors in multiple places all over his little body, including his stomach, neck, face and legs, which has begun to spread into his bone marrow. Ryder's parents described the revelation as their worst nightmare following the unthinkable loss of cousin Charlize in Sydney in January. It was a total shock to us. This whole situation came out of the blue. I wish that this nightmare would end, Mother Melissa Sakiri said. My father passed away from aggressive rare cancer. This has really turned our world upside down and changed everything. A GoFundMe has been set up for Ryder Mutten's fight against cancer, with all funds raised going towards helping his parents cover the cost of his treatment. I will leave the link for the fundraiser in the description down below. Now, having reached the end of the video, I don't know guys what to believe honestly about this whole situation. Like I said a bit earlier on in the video, all the information that I managed to add together, this whole case brings more questions than it does answers, and something is just not sitting right with me when it comes to Justin and also to Kallista. The reason why I say this, okay, is on one hand, let's just say that he did it, all right? I'm not defending anybody here, obviously. I want to look at this from different points of views. So let's say that, okay, he killed Charlize, as the police is saying, the police investigation is revealing. But anyway, it's very hard to believe because he didn't really have any encounters with the law apart from the possession of narcotics in 2016. Yes, I'm not saying that people without any criminal records, they cannot be killers, because obviously we already know so many of them can be, but I don't know, but something just doesn't sit right with me. And also not necessarily that he's innocent, because I think that he's far from innocent in all of this, but I'm also thinking that he was on antipsychotic medication for a lot of years, so he had some mental issues there as well. And then I'm also thinking about Kallista. There are so many questions that I'm actually asking myself. I mean, why was she there alone at the caravan park? Why did Charlize go back to the property with Justin alone? Why didn't she go there with them? Why didn't Kallista go there with them? Why didn't Kallista go there with them as well? Why did she choose to stay behind at the caravan park when the whole point of this holiday was for Charlize to go on holiday and spend time with her mom, because they couldn't do that before because of all the lockdowns and also because of Kallista's problems with the law? So you'd think that honestly her mom would appreciate the fact that the daughter is going to see her and spend time with her, and she will cherish every single moment without wanting to be by herself. And I don't even think that before this holiday Justin ever met Charlize. I know that his dad never met Charlize, and all I know is that his mom said she was a lovely girl and it was heartbreaking what happened to her. But I am under the impression that before this holiday Justin didn't even meet Charlize, and so for Kallista to allow her daughter to go back on the property with a man who didn't even meet her before is not only irresponsible, but it's also ignorant from my point of view. I'm not trying to judge anybody here. And also, there is another suspicious thing to me. Not only does Kallista also have mental problems, which is of course understandable because of everything that she went through in her life, but then she was also in a psychiatric unit where she spent some time getting treatment, and then Justin's friend said that he encountered her on a couple of different occasions and she didn't cope so well with stress and things like that. So she had a temper. So again, I don't know. In the psychiatric institution she was also kicked out of a clinic where she was aggressive. And then also Justin is speaking with Kallista over the phone after him killing Charlize, and they are talking about the sandbag situation and also about weighing down the boat and taking the boat out. So again, why is nothing suspicious to Kallista when Justin said to her about the sandbags? How come they decided to have that phone conversation if Kallista was not aware of anything that has happened? And then there is also another interesting thing to note. When Kallista was in the psychiatric hospital, remember, another patient mentioned how she was bragging about her rich fiance. I mean, I have no idea about the dynamic of this relationship, but it seems to me like Justin and Kallista are from completely different worlds. How did they even end up being together? You don't really see this dynamic, do you? I'm still left, honestly, with more questions than answers, but I think, in my humble opinion, there's something really suspicious about the mom as well. What do you guys think? Please let me know what you think about this case in the comment section down below. For now, thank you so much for watching today's video. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down, whichever way you prefer. Either way is free, it doesn't cost you anything at all, and it really helps me and my channel out. Also, there is a link popping on your screen where you can buy me a coffee if you choose to do so. Either way, I'm very grateful to have you here. And for now, thank you so much for watching. And if you haven't subscribed, please make sure you hit the subscribe button. Also turn the notifications bell on to be notified of any new uploads on this channel. Thank you so much, guys. Take care and stay safe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.